And so I will start my talk with paying respects to Lord Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So, for today's talk, I decided to do a little an explanation of a sutta which sort of I found very interesting. This is in Anguttara Nikaya, in Anguttara Tense, the number 17, the Protector Sutta. So this is basically talks about these 10 qualities we can take up, we can practice, or we can take them as refuges, actually. So the protector, or the Nata, or the Nata Karana Dhamma is the term here. Lord Buddha discusses here like 10 points we can rely upon, we can take up, we can practice, so it will function as a refuge for us, as a protection. So he starts the sutta saying that do live with protection, and do live with a protector. Living without a protector is suffering. It's the same idea of going refuge. Now, when we take 5 precepts, when we do morning, evening chanting, sometimes we do this Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dhammam saranam gacchāmi, Sangham saranam gacchāmi. These 3 refuges we go for refuge. So that's also in line with the same idea that as Buddhists we are in refuge. Because there is suffering, there is these dhammas, these worldly dhammas, 8 worldly dhammas. So there are 3 refuges: Lord Buddha, and the Dhamma, and the Sangha who practices the Dhamma. In the same fashion, Lord Buddha talks about these 10 points. The first one is virtue. Virtue as the sila, as a refuge or protector here. So we all know that sila is very basic. People come and ask, how to practice meditation, how to practice right view. What are the basic things, to practice as a Buddhist? Precepts, the sila that's a good start. That's always being the start you see throughout the suttas. 5 precepts as a regular refuge, a regular sila for lay people, and 8 precepts occasionally for Bosaka days. There were times people observed all the 4 Bosakas in Buddhist countries. Like we have like one full moon Uposatha, and we have, like as monks, we observe the new moon Uposatha, the Amavaka, we say in Sinhala. There's no moon on that day, and there are these two Uposathas in between. We call it like Pura Atavaka and Ava Atavaka, like a waxing and waning halfway moon, basically. So while I was in Thailand, there was this all four Uposatha observances happening in these monasteries. It was a little like fascinating to see, and coming from a Buddhist country, now you are in another Buddhist country which practices, according to these old traditions. People are still keeping 8 precepts for all 4 Uposathas. So you see the same bunch of people again and again in every week, because 28 days lunar month, basically divided into 4. It's like roughly like a week. Once a week you see people come to the monastery. They were like this small Uposathas, sometimes we call. There may be little less people, but still you see regular people who sort of practice in this way. 10 years, 20 years ago, so you saw that sometimes in Sri Lanka too. I don't know, these days it's very rare to see because people are too busy. But this is something very important. Somehow we forgot. It's a nice custom. Somehow we are too busy to observe these days. So it's an encouragement, and that you don't have to go to temple to observe 8 precepts while you are at home. Still you can take up 8 precepts and go about doing your things, your chores and things like that if you are at home. If you are working, of course, it is difficult. So, Sila, it's a training. It's not just some observance that somehow we think it's kusala, which we don't know exactly how it amounts to your understanding, your mind, lessening your suffering and all these things, but it's more like, these are kusala, it will help me at some point. It's not like that. It's more transparent than that. Keeping sila means you let go a lot of things. All these precepts, if you pay attention to them, when you see these things, basically make us let go of certain things, certain behavior, like changing our ways of doing things. And it's difficult because there are certain things we are very used to do. We are used to do it. We are very comfortable with them. But the precepts demands. Sometimes they demand to practice otherwise, change the behavior. So it's difficult. It's a change. Our brain, our mind doesn't like change. But unless you change, there's no other way of training. Training means change. That's why sometimes, the term training, it's a, we don't have any negative connotation towards them. Actually, training, we like, the idea of training. But sometimes when we start training, it's not that um, uh, easy or kind of comfortable. It's difficult because it demands change. We don't like change. So if a change happens, then there is learning. Otherwise we go about doing things in the same way, more like autopilots, and we don't notice that much. But if there is a change, then you see the contrast. With that contrast, there is this opportunity, or like a little this room to understand something, to see something new, something you haven't seen before. So it's good to embrace the change. Sometimes the teachers of the Thai forest tradition particularly encourages us to change the situation. As monks, time to time we leave our monastery and go for a charika. Like sometimes like a walking kind of a journey, a charika, can be a pilgrimage. These things take you away from your usual comfortable zone. Now there's a change, you have to adapt according to the change. So you have to sort of be more mindful, you have to be careful, you have to think how we are going to act according to this new situation. So because of that, learning happens. Your sati sharpens because of that. Because of this change, it's very positive. We embrace change. We're supposed to embrace change because of that. So sila also is a change for our daily, like a usual routine of our lives. So having sila is very important in that fashion, in that sense. And needless to say, it's also a gift you give to the others. It's a gift for yourself. It protects you. It increases your mental health, basically, if I put it that way. You're more confident. Your mind is a little more clearer when you keep sila. And it's a gift. Now recently, a senior monk I met was, we had a little Dhamma discussion, and he pointed out regarding this culture, the monastic culture or the culture in general. Why do we have culture? Now, culture has customs and ways of doing things. Culture gives us the predictability. There are patterns. Now we have a little subculture here. As a group of practitioners, we are keeping precepts, meditating, Buddhists. So in this category we have a certain subculture. Like we try to sort of be more kind of calm and quiet, be more considerate, more sensitive to each other, and try to meditate, try to practice, try to contemplate. take a break from your usual routine. So there is such a culture that conducive for all of us to gather together and practice. So there is a certain predictability here. The culture takes away that fear. It replaces the fear with more predictability, more stability, likewise qualities. So that is very important for us to grow. If it is every time people stealing from others and it's totally like a banana republic kind of a situation, people harming each other, then it's not a nice situation to live. We are more like driven by basic instincts, basic sort of like animals. They are in fear always. If you see small animals, they prey on some other animals, creatures, and they themselves, predators themselves, are also like very careful, being very careful of some other like bigger animal might sort of harm them. You see this sort of unpredictability is always sort of restless and running, is on the go, always on the run, rather. So instead of that kind of a situation, the sila or this kind of a culture gives us that backdrop of stability, more like a room to grow, a room to relax and go inwards and see what's happening in your mind. So sila basically encourages this kind of a culture. It's more like a culture, more like civil. The more sila you keep, more civil you are, and more it gives that gift to the others. So they know actually this person is trustworthy. This person at least wouldn't harm me. This person will be sensitive enough. So we can have a good relationship which benefits both of us. Likewise. So sila has this sort of implications. It can, a whole talk can be dedicated to explain sila in that fashion. And another thing to note is that we have precepts, and we call them sikkhapada or sikkapada or silpada, we call it in Sinhala. And we have the sila, we call sila or sila. Sometimes sila and sikkhapada are synonymous. When we say Panchasila or this Silpada, we refer to the Sila. But there is this difference as well. There is a difference there to be noticed. Now, the Sila, in more generic sense, it refers to this idea of avoiding, refraining from any wrongdoing. Like this verse, sabba pāpasa akarana. Now, sabba pāpasa akarana kusala sukha sampada sacitta pariyodapanang etam buddhana sasana. I think you heard this verse. It's very essential, very kind of basic saying, a very fundamental saying of Lord Buddha, which covers basically what the Buddha wanted to say. Etang buddhana sasana. It's it's the dispensation of Lord Buddha, not just this Buddha, but any Lord Buddhas. Buddhana, it's like a plural there. So as lay people, you keep 5 precepts, sometimes 8 precepts, 10 precepts, and as a novice monk, again 10 precepts. As Upasampada Bhikkhu, 227 plus more, or Bhikkhuni in that for that matter. So there are these different number of precepts, but the number of precepts, of course, gives a hint, or it kind of implies that you keep a higher sila. But at the beginning, we should notice that Lord Buddha didn't set down any precepts until 20 years of his sasana. Venerable Sariputta even invited Lord Buddha, Venerable Sir, this is time to set down rules, but he wouldn't, because he says the Sangha is still without any blemishes. He says, this is in the Vinaya, at the beginning chapter of the Vinaya, you see this story. So first 20 years, there weren't any Sikhapadas, but there was this understanding that we ordained, we became monks to attain Nibbana, so we had to purify our mind, so we better avoid any akusala, any wrongdoings. So people were governed by that original principle of sabba papas akarana, avoiding any wrongdoings, any evil deeds. Kusala sopa sampradaya, develop kusala. But eventually there were people later generation who tend to forget this original idea. Then things happened. Lord Buddha decided, okay, now it's time to set down rules. Then gradually we accumulated all these rules, 227 rules plus other nearly 1,000 of minor rules. So, but Lord Buddha says in the suttas, we have to understand. Now there is this difference between the rules and the sila. Because of the rules, nowadays we have an idea. It's a good guideline. Otherwise, we might not have a clue actually what was meant by sila by the Lord Buddha. So ultimately, it's a good thing that we have rules. Otherwise, so we can sort of follow, we can understand what Lord Buddha really asked us to do. And there are these 4 great standards, we call them, for monks and nuns, that okay, in the future there may be some situation or something comes up, little ambiguous whether we should refrain doing it or whether we should take it up. Then Lord Buddha says, whatever I already set, the rules I already set, if it is something in line with that, okay, let's say if it is something allowable, if this new thing is in line with this already allowed thing, then you can decide that this new thing also allowable. If it is something in line with prohibited by Lord Buddha, then we can decide this new thing is it's something to be avoided. So that's again like a generic principle. Otherwise, there are very many akusala things arise in our minds, but it's just the 5 precepts or 10 precepts or 227 precepts, but there are like thousands of different situations and scenarios we better avoid, otherwise it will be like a hindrance to our path. So how can we possibly understand or sort of navigate? So there are this guiding principle. There is the sila. The idea of sila is way like it's like an umbrella term. It's way bigger than the idea of precepts. So it's good to know these differences. And yes, so that's more or less the sila as the first refuge or the protector. The second one, Lord Buddha says, a person listens to Dhamma, remembers them, basically contemplate and listening to Dhamma, remembering the Dhamma as the second refuge. Suttava is the Pali term. So, having a good knowledge of Dhamma is very essential. Now, Lord Buddha says there are these anisansa, there are these benefit of listening to Dhamma. You listen something you haven't listened before, and sometimes you hear something you already heard, but it reinforces what you already, something you heard already. It reinforces, and it, as a third benefit, it rectifies your views, your world views, or the right view. So hearing Dhamma is definitely is a protector. It's very important. So when you listen to Dhamma, if you contemplate a little, it's not just you pay attention, but just you have a little bit of you compare what you already know with what I just said, and that makes us. You reorganize. You basically organize your Dhamma knowledge in a fashion that he remembers these things more easily. It will come back to you easily. Ajahn said once that those are the times that the tape recorders were coming to the monasteries. It was a new thing, and talks of Ajahn started recording by that time. So once he pointed out one of these recorders and said, it's more important that you record whatever I say in your mind, or remember I say what I say in your mind than recording into these devices. All you have to do, pay attention, you try to focus what the monks is saying, and you have a little bit of a contemplation at the back of your mind. You compare, you try to understand. It's a rather automatic thing for most of us, and that will make that teaching more permanent, more permanent. It will retain in our mind, because you pay attention, it will stay. Otherwise, if we are sort of thinking totally something else, out of focus, it might not go into your memory. So he says, be that tape recorder yourself. Don't worry about remembering, all the things. After the Dhamma talk, you try to remember everything, but you can't. But you were paying attention to the Dhamma talk. And later on, if something comes up, this particular teaching you heard will come up to you. It will come to you automatically. You remember, yes, this sutta, Lord Buddha said this, or Ajahn Brahm said this, as an instruction. So, remembering instruction, or remembering the correct teaching for the correct time, is also part of this listening to Dhamma. You remember, not just you listen, you remember also. So be your tape recorder, more than relying on this recording things. And the third one, Lord Buddha says, as a protector, is good friends, having Kalyana Mittas. It's a very important thing. It's also a refuge. It's something difficult to come by, I would say. Now, we have these monthly weekend retreats. Now, this is also like a bunch of Kalyana Mittas, although little, we are not. It's not like something deliberately. Like we don't sort of come here. Okay, I want to be a Kalyana Mitta to someone else. You come here to practice. But just mere coming together, you should understand that actually you are, like passively you become a Kalyana Mittas to others. Now, as I see it, having a Kalyana Mitta, you have like there are like two aspects. First thing, of course, if you have a question, if you have something to clarify, you approach the Kalyana Mitta, have a chat, have a discussion. You ask a question and clarify your doubts. That's the first thing, first and foremost. There's another one, which is that these Kalyana Mittas teaches us without words. If you live with practicing people, you start to see how they respond to daily life. The dukkha comes. Dukkha is the biggest problem as Buddhists, right? We're supposed to be experts in dukkha, or we are reading a degree, so to speak, to understand dukkha. We are undergraduates of it. So Kalyana Mittas who are like more senior, in this program, in this degree program, so you can look after them and see actually how what are their sort of experience, how they go about and deal with these things, because you hear, you listen to lectures, you sort of heard the theory, but when something appears in an exam paper, something you can, some kind of real world problem, you know the principle, but how can you possibly apply that to the real world problem? How can you implement it? How can you test that in a lab? It's a different thing, right? You need to have like a different, little bit of a more skill to translate that into like a more practical situation. So Kalyana Mittas are there to sort of show us that okay, this is okay. Yes, in principle, it's like this, and by the way, when you practice it, these things are, you know, something you need to be worry, or you have to pay attention, something like that. There are so many practical things that we need guidance from Kalyana Mitras. I mean, as monks, we are nothing if we didn't have any teachers. Having a teacher as a junior monk, as a beginner is absolute essential. People take up robes, they ordain, and think that okay, I fought the battle, now I'm a monk. Now it's time to sort of a cruise. Not really. It's just okay. So part of the battle is finished. Okay, being a monk or a nun is difficult enough, of course, but it's just a beginning of another bigger sort of a journey or a warfare. Sometimes I would like to see in that sense, in that way. Lord Buddha also puts this training as a warfare. There are many similes. Actually, Lord Buddha assimilates monks as soldiers, Yodha Jiva in Pali. There's a Vagga, there's a 10 sutta chapter dedicated under that name, Yodha Jiva Vagga even. I think it's in Anguttara. Because it is war, it is difficult, it is a big change, it's unsettling, and it's uncharted territory for yourself, how you go about and survive and train yourself and fight the battle and survive and be victorious. So it's a real world problem, and sometimes things get darker, kilesas come, all that sort of romantic sort of fantasies sometimes can go right out the window. It's just, it happens sometimes. There are realities as monks and nuns, because there are not many things to occupy with, especially as a junior monk or a junior nun. Okay, senior monks are busier than junior monks. Practically, as I see it. But it depends on how you sort of choose to live your life also. So, yes, so not many things happening. It's just you are sitting with your mind, and your mind throws up things, karma vipaka kind of things, habits, emotions, all these things, this craziness, this certain craziness weren't there before actually suddenly surfaces. It happens. What are you going to do with it? I mean, not just monks, right? I mean, it sometimes happens to lay people as well, more for lay people sometimes. But if you are in a busy situation, you sometimes these things you don't pay attention that much, and it sort of somehow go unnoticed. But you are sort of being mindful, you're looking at your mind, and these things come up. What are you going to do with these things? So it's so practice is something. It's a real deal, so to speak. So Kalyana Mitras matters. I as a trainer of junior monks. Not many monks actually I've trained, but personally I insist them to, stay under a teacher as long as they can, because it's very essential. Teachers, actually without teachers you can't do it. Without Kalyana Mittas you can't do it. First and foremost, teacher is Lord Buddha and the other Arahants, and the living Sangha, living, breathing Kalyana Mittas who practice these things. So it's very important. So it's a protector, it's a refuge you can take. And fourth one, Lord Buddha says, there's this quality of easy to correct, easy to train. The Pali term is suvacha. Sometimes in Sinhala also we have this term like a suvacha kikaru. It's a term. Sometimes it's not that sort of a popular thing. That suvacha or easy to train kind of attitude. We think that we might be vulnerable to something because we are being more meek, more willing to train under someone. Yes, you have to find a suitable teacher, suitable environment to practice. Then you trust, you contemplate, you assess. You know this is according to Dhamma Vinaya. You can trust. Then you basically open up yourself to the Kalyana Mittas. So if something comes up, a teacher, a Kalyana Mitta might say something, look, this is how you do it, this might lead to your own suffering. Better avoid these things, and this is how you should do these things. It is again a change. We don't like change. Because of that we resist usually. The sense of self also contributes to this a lot. The sense of self doesn't like change and might sort of grasp into certain views and opinions. So a Kalyana Mitta comes along and says something otherwise, then a resistance comes within us. It happens, it's natural. But the real deal would be that, okay, there may be resistance, but at least you listen, you accept, you understand actually this person says something valuable. So you accept. Instead of talking back, instead of arguing, instead of shutting yourself down, okay, don't come and don't advise me. It happens all the time, even in monastic situations sometimes, like people get upset and angry when someone gives a feedback. And in order to make this feedback process more how to say, like less invasive, if I put it that way, less harm, less shocking to each other. We sometimes avoid, as junior monks, sometimes we are not that eligible, or we are not asked to sort of give feedback to each other all the time. It's sometimes up to the teacher to give a feedback. Otherwise, there might be little disharmony sometimes in certain communities, because people sort of always look at each other's faults, or something, what's lacking, and giving feedback. It's also little problematic. because people can give you feedback, but it's not easy to implement all this feedback at once. So as a good teacher, you should understand that you give a feedback according to the right time, in the right time, in the right place, in the right tone, and considering that this person will be able to take up that advice and do something about it. If that person is not ready for that, sometimes you might avoid it, because it's no point, it's just waste of words, waste of effort as well. So, being stubborn and being stupid, I would say, is the worst combination one can have. Because, a person is insensitive, and at the same time, that person is not open to any feedback at all. So how can he or she possibly grow in this Dhamma Vinaya? So we need to have that openness. Otherwise, it's a closed loop, a closed system, the same things that circles, and there's not much growth you can expect in such a closed system. So it is something we should develop, we should actively try to cultivate. It's not easy, because we were told, we are conditioned to be confident, go and do your own thing, express your individuality, you're like a valuable, your personality is unique and valuable. Yes, of course, we are not sort of arguing against it, but when we say personality, it's not like an ideal personalities we have, right? We are in the samsara because there were good qualities and there were certain bad qualities as well. The qualities doesn't help for ourselves or the others. So if we are totally encourage that personality to sort of to grow in that way, it's not going to help. So you have to understand it's a middle way. It's not just you totally removing your individualness and sort of do what the group do, the group think, the herd dynamic, to follow the herd. It's not that either. But on the other hand, it's not the total individualism too, because the both way kind of it has its kind of has the problems. So yes, so being easy to correct is also a refuge. It's absolutely it's helpful for us. So the fifth one is being skillful and diligent in diverse chores. Now this is Lord Buddha refers according to the monk's context. Now, as a monastic, I notice, from someone from Sri Lankan tradition, we ordain as a monk or as a nun, hopefully, that we ordain thinking that I need to meditate. We have this picture of a person, a meditator, meditating under a tree, little like a hermit or like a tapasa, sort of an idea. If I say it in Sinhala, like a hermit, living in the forest, living under a tree, uh, meditating. Then I'm a part of a Sangha member, I have teachers, I have chores to do, I have sila to keep, I have duties to perform towards the Sangha, towards the monastery, towards the teachers, towards each other, towards your own requisites, towards your dwelling, towards visiting monks, and when you visit some other place, towards that place. There is being a monk, being a monastic, it's a complex thing. It has many facets to that than this initial idea of being a hermit, being just like a meditator. Meditating is absolutely essential. There's no like a doubt about it. I'm not sort of saying something against it. What I'm saying, um, this idea we have at the beginning, and so this is as a Sri Lankan monk. You see this a lot. You go to Thailand and stay in the Thai, forest monasteries. You see their take of being a monk little different. In the sense that something I already mentioned, that you are not just an individual monk meditating, you and your own meditation, but you have duty towards the Sangha, towards the group. You're part of that group, you represent that group. You live under a teacher, you need to take the training, you train. And in that training, in that living together, in a Sangha, there are duties. Lord Buddha says monks need to or should be skillful in sewing robes, mending your requisites, repairing them, or like dyeing them, like with the cloth dye, you're coloring them with a suitable color. Repairing things, looking after your dwellings and things like that. There's another sutta actually, but categorically he points out, certain skills, it's good, it's good to have as a monk, so you can help the senior monks, help the Sangha. So here also, in the same fashion, Lord Buddha says, a monk or a person or a practitioner, not just your meditation craft, but some of the things related to your environment, your practicing environment. You need to have that skill. Now in a situation like here, we in order to have this sort of practicing environment, we need to have what we need to set the asanas, all the mats and the cushions and all the sitting clothes, on place, and setting up the sound system, setting up other things, setting up how the dana, has to be, we need to have a little bit of a morning dana and a lunch dana as well, and other things just to make this program happen, or any other practicing situation you are in, or at your house. You have your chores. It's not just you and your practice, or right thing. It's not like that, right? You have your chores. So you have this bigger picture, and definitely it needs the sati, the mindfulness, application of mind, wisdom also. it requires patience, endurance, a lot of things it requires than you living in a solitary situation. No one bothers you, you don't have to attend anything. Likewise. So this is also essential because you contribute to the community and the community will look after because of that. Because you are a team player, we are more, way more stronger as a group than like one, as like individual, less vulnerable as a group. So we organize ourselves in that fashion so that we can maintain that institution. So Sangha is like an utmost example, and that's the secret that after nearly 2,600 years, the Sangha is still surviving. Otherwise, it would have gone, a long time ago. It wasn't just the Dhamma, it wasn't just you and your meditation, but there is the Vinaya as well, how the institution has to maintain. It was very essential. And Thai Forest tradition, it's more kind of, they emphasize it more than here in Sri Lanka sometimes, I would say. Sri Lankans also, as Sri Lankans we have our own way of doing things. The Thais also have more kind of a certain areas way more organized than Sri Lankan situation, I would say. So, yeah, the skillful and diligent in diverse chores. And the sixth one, I'm already running out of time, but I'll borrow 10 more minutes just to kind of. Some of the things actually will be more, straightforward towards the end. The sixth is the Dhamma Kamo, that's a Pali term. You delight in Dhamma. You like to read Dhamma, you love to listen to Dhamma, you love to learn Dhamma, you love to contemplate, you like to sort of understand what's behind it. How to contemplate, how to crack this nut. Certain problem comes up, a mind state. You don't shy away. You try to solve the problem. You consult people. You try to do something about it. That's the passion. That's that. You have that onekama, that umana. You have that. You have that. You're delighting in practicing. Delighting in Dhamma, learning. So that's a part of the quality of saddha as well. It's a different way of saying you are arousing the saddha as an indriya, as a what do you call it? The technical term doesn't come to my mind. Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. You know the list. It'll come back to me. So it's basically saddha. You're arousing your saddha. Dhammakamo is a Pali term. And the seventh is okay. So it's naturally follows what I've just said. You have aroused your energy. Like naturally, the saddha leads to virya. Faculties, that was the word actually I was looking for. The 5 faculties. The saddha, virya, sati, samadhi, panya. Actually, now I just noticed actually, the rest of the list actually follows that 5 faculties. So you arouse energy because of your wanting, your delighting in practicing Dhamma, learning, listening to Dhamma. So you do something. It's not just you stop by contemplating. You do something. You take up. You practice certain techniques, certain things you can do in certain situations. Uh, then whatever you learn, your tape recorder will come into action. It will bring up the memories. Okay, I better do this in this situation. I should contemplate in this way. If I contemplate this in this way, it wouldn't help. It will aggravate the problem more. So you actively avoid the aggravating part, and you sort of try to steer towards simplifying this situation. You applying the right sort of remedy, so you will see the immediate results. Actually, look, I'm practicing now. It's not just listening Dhamma and taking down notes and things like that anymore. No, you are experiencing the fruits of practice. Here in the same line, number 8, and Lord Buddha says, as a refuge or as a protector, the contentment, santuttita, you are content with what you have. Being content with little. Sometimes your physical belongings, your physical possessions, sometimes it's the situation in front of you right now. It's sort of rainy and sort of a little gloomy, difficult to go outside and sort of walk, stuck, more or less stuck in the hall today. But you're content, it's okay. At least it's cool. At least it's not that, sweaty and sort of, because, if it is too hot, then, the mind also sometimes, affects by that, It makes it more like restless sometimes. So you try to content, it's okay, it's alright, this is good enough. This situation is good enough. This mindset, I'm trying to meditate, the mind throws stuff at me. It's okay, mind, it's okay. I know. I've been exercising you way more than I should, so what can I expect? I know. So you are not sort of fighting with your mind, you are not going to war with your mind. It's sort of, yeah, I know, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's alright, it's totally okay, I understand. So you content with what you have, with your mind, with people around you, with your environment, with yourself in general, with your non-perfect or imperfect self. Are you perfect? I know I'm not perfect. Although I don't want to talk about how I'm not perfect. So, but, well, I'm good enough. Yeah, I try to be a good friend with myself. Every now and then, my sort of, perfectionist sort of, leaps out and sort of fights and, this is not good enough, what are you doing? And, try to sort of control, try to fight. Yes, time to time, maybe it's a good thing, just a sort of as a good process. But yes, but at the end of the day, it's not like an ongoing war or anything. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll get on with it. Yeah, I'll fix it. Yeah. Okay, that's enough. So you're not like overcritical about yourself. So yeah, that's very important actually. Something I've learned over the years. Otherwise I won't be able to give a talk in front of you even. I'll be constantly fault finding whatever I just telling you, which I can do, like, believe me, I can constantly fault find whatever I do, and I'm so good at fault finding sometimes. But it doesn't amount to anything. You won't be able to fly. It will make sure that you will be according to this simile, you will be always grounded. You won't be able to, bring these things together and, making an aircraft. You can, be airborne one day, like Wright brothers did. They were just sort of thinkers. They were tinkering with stuff. There were people at that time, according to the story, like college professors and people like that, were like, had a lot of resources to do the same thing, to make a flying machine. But this sort of bunch of, this couple of people actually, just having like a bicycle repair shop. But they were like, they were not fear of mistakes, not fear of wrongdoings, not fear of like risks and, the chain. Tinkering with things and taking risks and, be comfortable with themselves and see how it goes. One day they lifted off from the ground and the rest is history. So I would like to assimilate, I will try to sort of, liberate ourselves, awaken ourselves in the same thing. Try to sort of throw all these sort of things and, see whether it works. Do you feel like you, every time you sort of, putting a page together and, it's systematically sort of grows to the point, you experience, something, you're basically liberating in that way? Perhaps not. It's more like ad hoc, more like haphazard way. You try to sort of do it in a different ways, but try to be in that territory of kusala. You'll do this sometimes, say Dhamma in a certain way, sometimes in a different way, covering all these aspects. Someday we will break through in either way and, get it going. Like, okay, remember how we learned to ride a bicycle? Was it like you sat there and sort of start sort of riding like that? It was just sort of you sort of run with the bike and somehow try to sort of get onto it and try to work out, and then sort of you fail and try to work out again, and somehow you strike a balance. It's something like that, in my opinion, of kind of getting the practice going and, getting the right the mix of supporting qualities, and you see, I can maintain balance for a short while at least. I can ride this bike and I can topple, but I can make it happen again. At least for a short distance. Likewise, so content with little, comfortable with what you have right now, what is available to you. It's very important. Otherwise, it will be more, it will be miserable. I'll guarantee you that. So, and the ninth is mindfulness. Being mindful is a refuge. We have discussed about the topic of, mindfulness before. We have some idea what the mindfulness means. Ajahn says, if you are mindful, you are a human. And if you are not mindful, you are like an animal, basically. He would say that. So, being mindful makes a big difference. So, we have that mindfulness. It's not that we are absolutely, without mindfulness. We do have, that's why we are here, but we try to grow that mindfulness, which we have already in certain area to a certain area which we are lacking. We try to sort of grow across the board of this quality-full mindfulness. Certain areas it is strong, certain areas not that strong. Okay, we have to sort of pay attention to that. And the 10th one, the utmost refuge or the protector, being wise, the panya, which will lead you to transcend the dukkha, understand the dukkha, one day attain a maggaphala. Yes. So those are the 10 protectors according to the Lord Buddha. We can take up or we can think of in our practice. So we, having listened to this aspect, that these teachings, we can actively promote these qualities, these aspects in our practice, promote these qualities, we try to practice more, and keep the ball, floating, keep the ship floating, keep it in the air, with rather than letting it sort of fall down to the ground, if I say it in that way. So I would like to conclude my talk with this encouragement of taking up these protectors, and we have some hours we can practice. I think today we are planned to stop about 3 o'clock, right? Because we are 3:30 actually. It will be a little like 1 hour before as usual, because we have like this important meeting which Ajahn Brahmali also participating from Perth. So that was the only convenient time for Ajahn Brahmali to participate. So yes. So good luck with your practice. Have a good day. It's all right, whatever you experience, you try to accept. Try to practice contentment. You'll be fine. Okay. With this merit, with this kusala, listening to Dhamma, I anumodana that you grow in practice and understand Four Noble Truths, so on. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, are there any questions actually, like maybe something I can briefly answer? Any questions? Okay, so yes, Nona asks, she's asking me to mention the 10 qualities, like at one go. So, so these 10 protectors, what are 10? What are these 10? Virtue, learn. So virtue as a sila, learn or remember as a suttava, and having good friends. The 4th one is easy to correct or suvacha. 5th one is skillful, being skillful and diligent in diverse chores. 6th one is Dhamma kamo, which is like delighting in Dhamma. The 7th one is one who aroused energy, the virya. The 8th one is being content with any requisites you have. The 9th one is being mindful. The 10th one is being wise. So those are the 10 points I've discussed. Okay. I think that's it, no questions. Okay. So we will meet for our guided meditation session at 9:45, I guess. Thank you.